So we're going to probably come close to completing chapter 4 today. If not, we'll definitely complete it on Monday, and then there'll be a quiz available for you guys to take. So in chapter 4, we're talking about hardware and software, and we also talked a little bit about how we acquire software, licensing of software, all those good things. One thing I kind of skipped over because I thought it would make sense to talk about after we covered some of the aspects of software is something called virtualization. Okay? And virtualization is the process of creating the appearance of a physical machine when it's really not one single physical machine. So there's 3 levels of virtualization, and the first one is PC virtualization. PC virtualization is when someone has a laptop or a computer that's a dual boot computer. You guys know what I mean by a dual boot computer? What operating system are you guys running right now? Windows, right, on your desktop. Remember we talked about applications that were only run on Windows, and maybe applications that are only run on the Mac operating system, or maybe applications that only run on Linux, the operating system. Well, PC virtualization is we're going to have 2 operating systems on our same computer, but it's going to be a dual boot. So one time we boot up, it's going to boot up into Windows, and if we want, the next time it'll boot up into Linux or something like that. Like no one has that. Sometimes like computer science majors will do that because they want Linux because it allows you to play around with things a little bit more. That's called PC virtualization, where I can have kind of like 2 physical machines on one machine. That's why it's called virtual, because I have one machine, but it's virtually 2 machines because it's dual boot, which is neat. That's been around for a long, long time. What has more practical business applications is we can do the same thing with servers. Okay? A server is a larger computer, right? A larger computer that does a certain process, right? It usually has more memory, more hard drive, more processing power than your desktop. And a lot of times we use what's called client-server applications. We go out and ask the server to do tasks for us, crunch numbers, retrieve database requests, go out and touch the internet. Well, servers can be quite expensive. Taking care of them, housing them, all that is very expensive. So on one physical server, we can host multiple servers. For example, on one physical server, one physical hardware piece, we can have a web server, a database server, and perhaps a storage area network, a storage server. That is server utilization. So let's give you an example. If I want to build a website, okay, I need a domain name, right? We'll talk about this later, like www.johnmico.com. But I also need a place to put my files, right? I need a place to put my files that is connected over the internet, yes? Well, I could run a server in my home, okay, and that could be the place where my files are, but I don't want to do that because there's a lot of maintenance with the server, you have to upkeep it, you have to back it up, it has to be climate controlled, all those things. So what I would do is I would reserve what's called hosting space at a place that does hosting. So they don't say, okay, this is the johnmico.com machine. They say, this machine hosts maybe tens of thousands of different domain names, right? So it goes to that machine, but it's virtually tens of thousands of domain names, okay? So that is server virtualization, which is common practice in the business world to utilize these things for multiple things. The last one, though, really can be revolutionary. Okay? The last one it's kind of newer. It is called desktop virtualization. So you have your computer right now, and it has your layout, your applications, your operating system, the things that you have stored on your computer. But you go on work, okay, and you don't want to take your desktop with you, your work desktop. Well, what desktop virtualization does is you can log on to a computer at the airport, a computer at your hotel, and when you log on, it's going to look just like your desktop at work. because all those things, the operating system, the files, they're not stored on your computer. It looks like it's stored on your computer, but they're stored in the cloud, right? So that's what desktop virtualization is, meaning no matter where you go, as long as you have access to the network, your computer you log on is going to look just like the one you have at work. Have the same applications, have the same file structure, and this is becoming much, much more commonplace. There are free applications to do this. There are also services that offer this, like IBM. Sarah, did you have a question?
Oh, no, I was going to ask, isn't there an app for this? Because I don't have an app on my iPhone.
You have an app for that?
Like, yeah, because like what I access on my, well, I had a desktop at home, I can access on my iPad. I mean,
You mean is that just files or?
no, it like turns my iPad into the desktop screen.
Okay,
for my
yeah.
computer.
Yeah, so with more mobile applications and more mobile users, which we'll talk about in a minute, those kinds of things are going to become much more commonplace, right? You're not going to have to say, well, that's on my work computer or that's on my tablet. They all become the same exact interface. Do you know what I mean? It's Sarah's interface. It's Sarah's desktop. And it doesn't matter if she's using a computer in the lab, if she's using her laptop, or if she's using her iPad. So desktop virtualization will, for sure, be the standard in just a few years if it's not already. Want to move a little bit forward, and we're going to come back. But before we go back, I think we have a good time to talk about mobile systems. Okay, and the reason I want to talk about mobile systems is because you guys kind of a little bit differently. You've grown up with mobile systems, but we want to talk about how mobile systems have become increasingly important and some aspects of mobile systems. So here are the components for mobile systems that we have to have. First off, we have to have mobile devices, right? That's the hardware. If you think about it, your laptop, your tablet, your phone, your smartwatch, your Google Glass, whatever it might be, those are mobile devices, devices that can move with you. We have to have users, people like you in motion, right? That moving these devices from place to place. That only works, right, if you have wireless connectivity. If your phone doesn't have Wi-Fi and doesn't have a signal, it's basically a brick, right? If you don't have that wireless connectivity, it's virtually useless. So that's the other technology that has to come in place. And the reason that's important is because the resources that these mobile devices typically use are resources in the cloud. In the cloud, we have websites, we have services like email, we have data sources, we have application codes. So that's what mobile devices are. And what I want to do with that, and I want you guys to help me with this, I want you to talk about how the ubiquity of mobile devices has transformed or has affected these 5 components that we talk about all the time. So what about hardware? Okay, what about the increased use? So what has it done to hardware? What has it done to hardware? Alex?
Tommy.
Tommy, one of my
The phones, they were bigger, like whenever they started off in the early 2000s, and now they have the touch screen, super thin.
Okay, so very good. So you said a couple things, very good, Tommy. You said portability, right? So the devices have become much smaller, right? Much smaller, and that lends to the portability, yes? The phones were bag phones. They looked like a car battery that you had to carry around, or a satellite phone only like the Colombian drug dealers had at one point, right? Now, everyone has a smaller smartphone. Devices, because the hardware is smaller, gets embedded in a lot of places. It's cheaper. What else did you say about? And this kind of what else about the hardware? You said that kind of allows us to enter. The smaller means it doesn't have a keyboard, right? So what?
Touch screen?
Yeah. So the touch screen, and really more natural interfaces. So things like, recognizing your thumbprint. Now, what is the touchscreen is one thing. What does the new iPhone have? What are they this is, and I think they're getting a little desperate. I think the iPhone's getting a little desperate. They say this is totally new. This is everything's new, right? It reeks of desperation because I think they want people to say, why should I get this new device, right? Because this thing I have in my pocket works quite well, right? Why should I get this new device? And they say, what's their tagline? Did you see the commercial, the iPhone commercial?
The only thing that's changed.
Yeah, that's the exact thing. Only change. It's almost reeks of desperation a little bit. Like they're saying, well, man, we've already saturated the market. Because they want you to continue to get the newest device, right? That's how they make money. So they're kind of saying, why should you get it? Okay, and the big thing that they're marketing is what?
Pressure sensitive touch.
Yeah, pressure sensitive touchscreen. So now, you based on how hard you push, it does different features. So, and I think it's like they call it like three-dimensional, right? Because a push is a dimension. Now you can push it different and give multiple dimensions or enact different things. Other than that, okay, the other things I think they're propagating as new, everything is new, is like now your phone is your flash. So if you take a selfie, instead of it being a flash, the screen light flashes. Who cares about that? I'm not sure that's a reason to get a new phone. Have I ever I don't take selfies, but if I ever took a selfie, I would ever say, boy, this quality is lacking. If the phone were actually the flash, it'd be much better. No, that's not a reason to get a new phone. So the hardware, portability, smaller, the touchscreen, more natural interfaces is kind of what changed there, right? More ubiquitous, meaning it's everywhere. Ubiquitous, I'm gonna have trouble spelling that, but ubiquitous, it's everywhere. How about the software? And it kind of is related to the hardware. How about the software? Hardware and software, kind of related, right? So what are the things that we have to deal with because of the portability, because of the smaller? What are some things that the software had to do differently?
You have to be able to process more information on a smaller surface.
Okay, so the software, the developers had to think about how to display things a little bit better, right? And if you think about the interface, the software interface, we'll talk about this in a bit, but applications used to be, they'd have up here okay, click File, click Menu, click this, and you'd go through all these things, and that was, we call that stuff Chrome, like the stuff that goes around applications, right? Well, now because we have a smaller screen, software developers had to come up with, better interfaces, better ways to display things, because they're limited to screen sizes this big, or like the Apple Watch has its own operating system because the screen size is this big, right? So they have to have better interfaces. We call that direct interaction. Where I don't have to go through a menu, where I do something and it does something. It's also, because this thing is portable, sometimes the software is what we call context sensitive. Okay, meaning, if you say you want to go to Altoona, it knows where you're at, right? And it shows you a map to that. It's sensitive to where you're at this time and place. So the software has changed because of hardware. And you notice like Windows 8, things like that, they tried to design that interface so it's more touchscreen, it's more interactive, it goes away from the Chrome. How about data? We've kind of talked about this already. Mobile devices, how's it changed data?
Now you have to pay. Before you would just be given a set amount of data and you didn't have to pay for it. Now you pay for the data that's actually what you pay for.
Okay, so when you're talking data, you're talking about you're talking about this, right? That you have to pay for your phone data.
Alright, yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're kind of, I like where you're thinking. Think about that. Why is that so important? Because your data, not much of your data anyways, the things you're accessing are in the cloud, right? So when we talk about data, the data you pay for, it comes through wireless connectivity, either through Wi-Fi or 4G, 3G kind of connection. You're right. When I think about data, I want to think about like when we talk about data, the data that's created. So how has mobile devices changed data? Come on, Jacob.
Anything like stuff that you put in your phone, like information,
You're right, but how has it changed? Think about the amount of data. How has it changed the amount of data?
I guess that you can access off your anything now.
Okay, so we're going to talk about that. We talk about up here. We talk about people, procedures, and people. But how about the amount of data? How has portability affected the amount of data? All right, just think about it. Every one of us probably has a cell phone with us right now, yes? Every one of us, okay? Let's say 10, 15 years ago, none of us did, right? So you probably didn't have your laptop in front of you either, right? How much data were you generating during this 50 minutes? How much data were you generating this 50-minute class?
Whatever I wrote with my pen.
Yeah, whatever you wrote, right? And was that data cataloged anywhere? Hopefully you kept it for the first exam, but then you probably, or second exam, but then you probably threw it, right? Right now, even though you guys are listening to me, what kind of data is being generated right now by each one of us?
Personal thoughts, I was saying like that.
No, there's more data being generated.
Text messages, emails.
Okay, so, if you're sneaking a text in, yeah, that's data, right? But also, your phone tracks where you're at, right? There's constant communication with the tower saying, okay, have you ever used anything, service like Google Now or anything like that? It constantly says, this is, like it knows, hey, John goes to work every morning, it's 22 minutes to work. You ever see that kind of stuff? It knows. You guys don't do that? No. You ever use Google Now? No.
Apple kind of does that.
Apple does that?
If you have your location services on and you scroll down, if you drag down on your home screen, it'll say, you're 52 minutes from home, whatever it is.
Yeah, if you there's a lot of services like that, but it does like context sensitive help. So it knows like in my calendar there's an appointment. Maybe I have a hotel reservation somewhere, and it'll put up a reminder, right? It'll do those kind of things. It'll say, I know you're here, I know the time of day, you're 22 minutes from work. If you think about it right now, this thing on my wrist is generating a lot of data, right? It's all the steps I take, monitoring your heart rate. Think about that. So zero data being generated just 10, 15 years ago, and now the amount of data is unbelievable, right? Any text you send is data. Anything you look up on Google is data. Anything, when you're moving around, those portable devices are tracking where you're at. That's data. When you click on anything on Amazon, it's called clickstream data. They check where you click, right? They know that you were on the screen, you clicked here. So everything is generating data. And think about it. It's going to, watches, beyond cell phones, now wearable technology. So the amount of data has increased significantly, okay? Unbelievably the way it has increased. The amount of data each one of us generates every day is unbelievable, right? Just unparalleled kind of data generation. Constantly creating data, more data. How has mobility affected people? Let's talk about that. How has mobility affected people? How has mobility affected people? Let's talk about people and procedures together. And Jacob, what did you say? You said something that's pretty, kind of went along with people and procedures. When we were talking about data, you said you can look up things, right?
Yeah, like
So what do you mean when you say that?
like you can be anywhere and use your phone set out and be like one sub-location.
Okay, and what about it? You think about it, it made us all smart, didn't it? Do you have to memorize things?
Not as much.
Do you have to be an expert at things? Do you have to have like unsolved arguments? Like you're arguing like what's a taller building in the world? That argument used to last, hours because no one knew, right? And now it lasts seconds because you say, well, Google says it's this, so I'm right, and it's over. So think about it. We no longer have to memorize things. right? We no longer have to memorize things. We have the intelligence of the world with us at all points, right? At all times. Yes? How you can take a picture of something and it tells you, Google will tell you what it is, right? I don't know what the hell this flower is. Take a picture of it, Google will tell you what it is. You don't know what this song is, there's apps that'll say, hey, this song is by this artist, right? Just by listening to it, okay? It is amazing what it has done to the way people just interact with life, right? Just the way, you don't have to memorize things. You think about, what else? Because I don't want to spend too much time on that, because we're on time. But what else? What else has it changed? Well, think about the work environment, which I know you guys most of you aren't working at this time. But what about the work environment, like the business professional? What has it changed about the business professional? Yes?
You can work pretty much anywhere.
Yeah. So everywhere is your office, right? Everywhere is your office. You don't have to go in the office to be productive. Besides, well, hell, I could teach this class online, right? I could do the email that I need to do from home. I mean, in fact, some days in the summer I work from home, I'm probably more productive, right? I go down into my basement and I do, work, and it doesn't matter. No one knows I'm not here, right? I'm still emailing, I'm still in contact with people, I'm still, phoning, calling people. So everywhere is your office. What else? What else has it done, procedures and people-wise? So the mobility. What else? This is a good thing and a bad thing. So I can be anywhere, geographic. What else? Geographically, it has changed things. What else?
People can always get information right away.
Okay, so you think about it, right? Think about it. It has expanded when you're available. It used to be, you weren't at work. So your phone, you called someone at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, they didn't answer, right? They're not in the office. You can't talk with them. So it has also kind of changed things that were always on. You know what I mean? It's a good thing, it's a bad thing. You can get work done in the evenings, but it's a bad thing you can get work done in the evening. So, the work-life balance has kind of been a little bit of, some people are better at it than others, but the work-life balance has kind of been a little bit skewed, you know what I'm saying? Like work hours are no longer, okay, this is when I work and this is when I don't work. It kind of all blends together, especially for, highly productive people, right? It just becomes, okay, call me at midnight, whatever it is, I'll do a meet, it doesn't have limitations of time anymore, okay? The other thing that goes along with this, and it kind of goes along with what you guys are saying, is information, things became, just in time. Right, so, I'm going out to visit a manufacturing plant, maybe I sell things to. Out there I can pull up, our last month's sales, I can, work through all those things. I didn't have to do like a lot of prep work beforehand. I have access to all that information. It has really changed the way that we work. It changed the way we interact with one another. It has changed the way that business is conducted on a day-to-day basis. And this is only going to, continue, okay? The amount of data that we create is only going to continue. So, impacts of many more devices, compact interfaces, we talked about that. More data, we talked about that. Always on, always at work, we talked about that. It does give you the ability to thrive in a dynamic environment, right? Some people are very good at that, right? Being always on and being able to get work done. I mean, I kind of like some of those aspects. Industry changes, we'll have more part-time employees, independent contractors, loss of control for data, software, I'm not going to really talk about that. New technology, reporting and data, that's fine. Okay, so I think we hit the important things. All right, I'm going to stop there, and you guys have due on Monday. Create your macro. I haven't looked. Did anyone submit that yet? So it shouldn't take you that long. Good. I'll create those today. What's that?
So what is that?
Create a macro. Watch the 2 videos in the last 2 days.
Okay.
We do all that in there. It's not a hard assignment, but I want to see if you can do that. All right. Have a great weekend.
Oh, no.
Stay safe, we're gonna have big rain, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Is it gonna hit us or not?
I think so, some hurricanes coming, like Joe.
Joaquin.
Yeah, the governor
Wow,
of New
what?
Jersey's like freaking out.
Yeah, the East Coast will be worse, right? That's a good name for a hurricane, I like that, Joaquin. 'Cause I'm a little afraid of a Joaquin.
Wait, what is that?
Yes,
There's a hurricane coming up the coast. Hurricane Joaquin.
Like currently.
Well, it's
I've
like,
heard of that, but I thought it was like someone was talking about a person. I was like, I didn't know who they were talking about.
like put Joaquin coming.
Yeah, like I was like, okay. I really thought it was a person.
So what, you had your child?
Yeah.
Boy or girl? Like,
Girl.
what's her
It was
name?
Olivia. It was Tuesday night around like 11.
Olivia what?
Paul Harvard.
Should be Olivia Malik.
No, that's weird. Yeah, and we just took her home yesterday.
Doing healthy?
Yeah.
Good.
And then we have another appointment tomorrow.
Mother good?
Yeah.
Everyone healthy?
She gets no sleep, but she's good.
Well, that's what's important. Everyone's healthy. That's
Yeah, everyone's great.
Good. Good.